Okay. Welcome to another edition of the Events Calendar Office Hours. Today we are talking about customizing the events calendar, and basically we are open for questions. So we have Stephen here, is one of our developers and can help answer any technical questions that you might have about customizations. So feel free to just put your questions in the chat and I can read them out. And Jeff is joining us as well. He is our new marketing generalist. And
Hello,
so
hello. Good morning. Well, actually, good afternoon.
So yeah, feel free to put any questions that you might have in the chat and we can just dive right in.
Good morning, good afternoon, Ontario, Canada. Good morning, good afternoon, Pam.
We could take simple questions, could be stuff about like the WordPress customizer, CSS, template changes. Okay, here we go. How do you change the map directions? It used to be square, but now it is a flat rectangle.
The dimensions, okay. So I'm gonna share my screen here. Give me 1 second and go here so we avoid infinity. You've got a couple of ways to do this. What you want to do is kind of use a different browser for this, so I'm not. Oops. Let me do. So if we're looking at map view, maybe. Oh, the demo doesn't let you do map view? Okay, fine. Let me just do something real quick then. Fix that problem. I apologize. So we want this view. We want map view. So let me go Pro. Make sure that it's active on my site. There we go. Map. So we're talking about this map, this right, and you're worried about the shape of it. So what we can do is and I'm going to show you how you would figure something like this out, because I like to teach how you do that. We want to select. Here's our map, and if you look, we're just giving it a height and width of 100% here, right? And if you look at the computed, there's height 718 pixels, and it'll say, yeah, it's just saying 100%. If we go here, right here, for our breakpoints, we have breakpoints for different sizes, and each size sets a height and width for it. So you'd need to change this for each of the 3 breakpoints. You can see this is the medium, right? And if we were to say, so like this is your class, Tribe Common, breakpoints medium. You're looking at Tribe Events Pro, Tribe Events Pro Map underscore map, right? And that for each breakpoint, you can change that setting. So if we wanted it square, we could say the width also has to be 70 pixels. It's just going to kind of break things, but so you can see what's going to happen there. And then when this loads, this will load to fill at that height and width. It will load to fill, and then for like small, etc. If we make this screen smaller, it says height 300, right? Min width 0, width 100%. We can add width 300 pixels as well, and then you get a square map. And see, again, this is the base class, this Tribe Events Pro map, but for it to be responsive, you're going to need to also look at the breakpoint ones. So it'd be Tribe Events Pro. This is the class here. Let me put it somewhere where you can see the text a little better. Just copy all this. So this is our breakpoint, and we have several of these. There's small, large. I think there's a extra small, and then this is the actual map container. So you can set this one as a default width, and then you can set it with each of these breakpoints. So you could say, okay, well on medium, I'm going to do there's no space between the breakpoint and the Tribe Events Pro portion. Right, so like this is say 300 pixels was what we used, and then for this one we used width is I think it was 720 pixels, and so this one will load, and then actually somewhere where it's not going to freak out because it thinks it's PHP. So then this one will load at the base, and that gives you your 300 pixel square, and then this one will load at medium, and it'll make it a 720 pixel square. Or you could, instead of making the width bigger, you can say, well, the width was, let's see what the width is. If I refresh this, the height was set to 720. So what we can do instead is say, inspect this and find that div again, which is up here. And you can see this isn't an iframe, so it's going to this one. The height was 720, the width is 60 pixels. Computed on this screen, that width is 534. So we could say something like, well, instead of that, we're going to do 540 pixels, which gives us almost a perfect square. It's a little off, right? And then you have the square. So you can adjust either dimension. You can adjust the height, or you can adjust the width. Or you can manually set them both. This is adaptive so that this stays to the side. So I would probably leave this one and just change this one. So that would look like 840. That. And then you don't have to change the width here because the width that's applied here will still apply. Okay. All right.
Can you also show, Wayne was asking, the map as it appears on the single event page?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. Yep. On the single event page. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. I didn't. That was another comment. You're good.
Let me just pull up a single for you guys. Yeah, that layout is different. I'm gonna walk you through it, Wayne, just like I did before. Share my screen again. Woo! All right. So here, the thing to remember about this portion on the single event page is the stuff we're doing for the layout here, but the map again is going to hook into its sort of like it's trying to adapt. And so you see we have a media query here for this one. We don't use breakpoints on the single event. We just use media queries. So we can change this. Let's see here. It's like 356. Let's call it 360 pixels wide, right? That does push the side of the page out some. Or could push the side of the page out some. So you want to watch for that. And then that's on for, that 768 width page, right? We're saying this should be about half the width of that page. And let's see. Yeah, you can see there it's 360 by 356, right? I just rounded. So you can tweak it. We can say this should be, 356 if you want, to be very exacting. And then the other thing you can do is if you're going to make it really big, you can adjust its positioning in the section. So this section that we have like two sections here, right? Primary and secondary, and you can do stuff to break those so that they're not in the same line. If you want to make the map really big. So if we wanted to make our map like, well, let's say 720 pixels, right? It should push straight down, and then we'd have to also adjust the height. Let's call it 720 pixels. No, it's not adjusting for me. Oh, the map inside is not adjust the iframe. Has a max height of 739. Well, that should have adjusted, but it didn't. Oh, here we go. It actually has a height set on it. So, there you go. So you'd have to actually change the styling on that iframe too. You can see here this max height 211, max height 739, which got applied to it. So here we would, if we change that back, we can set height to 720 pixels. Boom, just like that. Right. Now it's going to zoom out now because of the size and the settings for zoom, and you can fiddle with that to your heart's content as far as like what zoom setting you're going to use and that kind of thing. But that would be how you would adjust that one. And and again, these are, you can see like this div is, let's get this one. What are we using? Okay, that's the map, and that's the container, and the container is a flex container. You see this display flex, so you can tweak this. You can either tweak the flex, or if you wanted to just force this one to be on its own line, you can use flex. What do I want to do? I want to do align self, I think.
With it being a flex, is it possible that it will remain responsive if people are making changes to their width and height of their maps?
Yeah, it should, which is why like when I made this map bigger, you'll see that second half drop down. But one of the things to remember is that like the details and organizers are in one section and the venue and the map are in another section.
Okay.
So if you wanted this up on on this line, you would have to do a template editing
Mhm.
where this section got injected after organizer into. Can I make this bigger? Ah, I can't. Great.
There's only so much space in the container.
Yeah. So this container is the venue info. If you wanted, you could go into these section templates and edit it so that this particular one ends up. Come on, you gonna let me do it, Chrome? No, Chrome's freaking out now because I dragged something. Okay. Oop, there it goes. You can do something like this by editing the template, where the map is in that section all by itself, so you can make it big and not worry about like losing the venue stuff. It's
That looks pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, that's a pretty straightforward one, where these templates just each template calls subtemplates. So this event meta primary template is going to call for the details and the organizer, and then the secondary is going to call for the venue. And so we just go into the secondary and say just call for the map, don't call for the venue, and go into the primary and say go ahead and call for the venue as well. And I'll get them out of order, but just not want to, doesn't want to play nice. Okay. Another question? You got this?
Yeah. This is just simple. Is TEC compatible with WordPress 6.2?
Yes. Yes. It is actually compatible with WordPress 6.2.1.
One.
Yeah. That just came out, right? We're actually working on a release right now and just updated our compatibility. If you look in the README file, and I should just keep sharing my screen. Huh? Share my entire screen. If we go here, and we look in this is, please ignore whatever I was working on here. So in the events calendar, here's our events calendar. If you look in the events calendar, there's a README text file, and right here at the top, it will say tested up to. You see this is 6.2, and we're actually about to release one that says tested up to 6.2.1. Generally, every release is tested up to the current release of WordPress. Every one of our releases. So.
I guess this is related, but someone is asking, why does Events Calendar Pro always say it's not fully tested with my current version of WordPress?
It shouldn't, but if you're using Full Site Editor, it may be saying that it's not fully compatible with Full Site Editor. Let me see. I'm actually going to open that same file for the Events Calendar Pro, and let me go back and I'll show you. So this is the README file in Events Calendar Pro, and it's 6.2, and that was changed last month. So I'm not sure what is telling you that, but like I said, if you're using the site editor, the full site editor, we're not 100% compatible with that, and you may be getting notices about that.
And I think if you're not using a current version of our plugins, then
Sure, yeah. If you're using an older version of the Events Calendar Pro and you haven't updated in a while, it might be telling you that the version of WordPress, which you've updated for free, since Pro is a paid plugin, you can keep using Pro without upgrading, but eventually you'll upgrade WordPress and it'll say, hey, you haven't tested with this. So.
why is there not a recurring events function for those events that repeat every week or month? I know I can use the CSV file, but it's cumbersome.
There are recurring events functions. They're in Events Calendar Pro, and you can make them repeat every week, every month, every day. You can set odd patterns and add exceptions. We also have added series to Events Calendar Pro, which lets you add different events, but treat them as like one recurring event, or as a series of events that are all connected. And then those series can be essentially patternless. You can just add any events to them. So.
I'd like my monthly calendar to have an arrow to scroll forward to the next month, not only from the top of the calendar, but also from the bottom.
Oh, okay. So what you're looking at, and I mentioned templates before, and we're going to go here, and we're going to go back to, we're going to go here, pardon my insight. So what we're looking at is this portion here, and that is this events header top bar, right, which has all of this. And you can do one of two things. You can copy this whole thing and have it pop in down here, or you can choose to just grab the this nav list. Let me go back up so you can see what I'm selecting. So this is the nav list, which is just the previous and next, and those are template files. So if we're in our, let me hide this. If we're in our templates, not in Pro. I'm going to close it. Actually, let me close all. Nope, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So we're in the events calendar, and if you look in the events calendar in source, there's a views folder, right? All of our templates are there. Most of the calendar view folder templates are in this V2. And what we're looking for is components, top bar, actions. No. Hang on. Let me show you how to find this. Copy. Then we search for events top bar nav list. And so let's collapse this. So we have like this one. Let's open this one up. So make sure so that's for day, but you want for month. So let's close that one and look on month, top bar, nav. So if you want the whole top bar, it's right here. And you can see this is the way that we call each item, right? Template, and then component, top bar, actions, or template, month, top bar, nav. So you would want to go to month, okay? In the month view, we're doing that same thing, right? Here's the top bar. So this calls the main top bar filter or template and outputs it here. And what you'd want to do is go down here, say like above the iCal link or below the iCal link, and add a similar template call. So like if we did this and dropped it here, for example, and now we wouldn't do this directly to this template in the plugin, because next time you update the plugin, it'll overwrite it. So there's a note here in the top of each of these template files that tells you where to put it in your theme, to copy it to your theme so that you can override it. But for the sake of time, I'm going to just do this. And there we go. And there's our top bar. So that copies the whole thing, right? You could, if you just wanted the arrows, right, we can look at the month, right? And the top bar's here, and we just want month top bar nav, right? So we would go back here, and instead of month top bar, we would do month top bar now. I've got the right template. Should just show us the 2 arrows. Might show us the this month button as well. Let's see. Oh, just the 2 arrows. Yep. And then you can style them or do whatever you want with them from there. You could even, if you wanted, this month top bar nav is here. Month top bar nav here. And you can see that it does previous and next URLs, and you could, in theory, override this one to change the layout of this as well if you needed to. So, but for the month calendar, you would do this. And if you wanted to do it to the other calendars, you can see in this V2, we have list, month, day. And then Pro has similar ones for things like week and map and summary. So there you go.
Can you show some sample calendars that are good examples of photos and graphics? I think for that, I think I can link in the chat to our customer spotlights. I think that might be the best way to kind of see what else or like what other people are doing with the events calendar. So I can, unless Steve, I don't know if you have any other thoughts, but I can link that in the chat.
I don't have any off the top of my head that I could share, but
Yeah.
I know we've got a collection of examples, so that'd be great.
Yeah, I can put that link in there in a sec. When I create an event start time, it shows on the calendar an hour earlier. What am I doing wrong?
I would check your time zone settings off the bat. If you have set the site time zone correctly and you've set the event time zone correctly, it shouldn't be doing that. But like an hour off sounds like it's probably a time zone issue. There are, share my screen again. There are some, let me switch right in here and do, hang on. And my local's being slow. Here we go. I need to. So if you go into event settings, oh, dang it, go away. Under, we move this, it's under display now. Under date and time, there is time zone mode, which you can set to either use the site-wide time zone, which is great if all your events are, say, in one city or any one time zone anyway, or you can use manual time zones for each event, which is great if you're, for example, in the US and doing events on the East Coast and on the West Coast, right? So check that, number one. Number two, under, I think it's general settings. Yeah. We have a time zone set, and this should not, when you're using the events calendar, it shouldn't be set like this. It should be set something like New York or Berlin or wherever. So I'm actually going to fix that on my local. Events calendar will handle it, but it has a harder time handling those UTC because there's some question as to like sometimes they're a little harder to adjust. And then of course you go into your events. So let's just go into this one and edit it. When you click on the date here, here's the time zone over on the sidebar. So generally that should be set by default to the site time zone, or if you've set a default, because there are ways to set certain defaults for the events calendar. If you'd set it like for all events, I want the default time zone to be blah, but you can also change it, so there may be a problem, and you can check this too, and it will show it like this, also on the front end, and that see if that's accurate. It may be that that's inaccurate, but those are the things that I would check off the bat. And if you still have trouble, reach out to us on the forums.
Is there a way to use WordPress to email all customers at once, such as Chimp Mail?
I think our promoter product does that. And Event Tickets does some of that too. I'm like, you're asking about customers, and I'm not sure like what you mean by customers. Do you just mean site visitors, or do you mean like people that bought a ticket to an event or something like that? In which case they're, depending on how you do it. For example, if you're using WooCommerce, WooCommerce has a way to email everybody that's involved in the type of thing. It's going to be very specific to your situation how I'd answer that. But there are some ways, and WordPress has some plugins that'll help you do that too. So
we would like to customize the community event submission form to add instructions and make additional fields required.
Oh, community events. This is going to be interesting. I haven't been into community events mode in a little bit. Sorry. Hang on. That's cool. Let me go here. Community. I don't even have. Hang on. It's community. I'm going to make sure my community events locally is working properly. And then let's go here and let's go back to the dashboard. Yeah, we need this and activate it. Mental note, next webinar, activate all plugins ahead of time. I was not expecting a community events question, so gold star for catching me.
When you're typing in all those commands and things are happening, it's like watching a magician waving a wand.
Okay, so here we go. So you're talking about submitting an event. It's just muscle memory. Half the time, those commands, I'm not even thinking about what I'm typing because I type them so many times every day. Pull down the latest code, rebuild the plugin to make sure that it's got all the pieces it needs. Community events. Ooh. This is a little slow. I apologize. It should be going to that page.
Your website and my brain, have much in common today. They're both slow.
It's being so slow about this. This is funny.
In the meantime, Elise was asking, I'm not a coder and I just purchased the pro version. Do I need to use code to customize?
Nope.
You do not.
You do not. Oh, I probably did not build that properly. Do we have, does the demo have community events on it?
It should, yeah.
How do we get there from here? Solution products. Is there a demo link from here?
Elise, I'm also going to link in the chat to some knowledge base articles to help you customize our plugins without code. I'm just gonna look for some stuff.
So there you would do community events uses templates as well, so you'd be doing another template modification most likely, or a hook. Somebody asked if they have to code to customize. It depends on the amount of customization you want to do, Elise. If you are looking for some fairly lightweight customization, um, I'm just going to pull this up in the background. If you're not using the full site editor, or well, even if you are, you should have the customizer available, and that will let you do things like tweak the fonts, tweak all the colors, customize the grid colors and things like that in the month view. There's a lot of customization options in there. Um, Unfortunately, the as we push closer to full site editor, all of that's going to wind up moving into the editor interface. But for now, all those do still work. You can change font size, change the font face. You can do a lot of tweaks to spacing and stuff like that in the customizer.
And I just put our customizations guide in the chat, and that has articles on the customizer and kind of different customization examples and different ways to customize stuff.
Yeah, and it is likely that when you are customizing, eventually you will have to at least write a little CSS to update a style. So if you were looking at doing some customization and lightweight customization where you're just changing a color, changing a font size, adding some spacing, it would not be a bad idea to do a little, like a free lesson on CSS or something like that and pick up the basics of it if you don't know it already.
Sally is asking, looking to modify event orders so that events are ordered by UTC but created with local time zones.
They should be. You should be able to create them with local time zones, and and so the ordered by UTC. So essentially, ordered by the UTC time zone. Like you want to group them by time zone. You would have to modify the query of the view. That's fairly involved, probably a little too involved for this now. You can reach out to our support for a customization request, and they'll help you as they can, or refer you to someone that can help you. Sounds like a fun thing to tackle, but there's no way I could do it in the time we have today. Excuse me.
Can we rename this show "Stump the Steven"?
Oh, someone does every time. Well, it's great because you know what happens is after these, I go back and I'm like, how do you do that? And I try to figure it out in all my free time. Yeah, I see this.
Yeah, I was just
when I hover over an event.
When I hover over an event, often the pop-up description covers the name of the event, so I can't click on the event to go to the event page.
Okay, well, you can click on the name of the event in the pop-up when you hover over an event. Let me see if I can. Yep. I'll share my screen. So because we realized that sometimes that pop-up is going to cover the name of the event, like here, it shouldn't usually, but sometimes it will, especially if the name is longer. But you can actually mouse up here and click on the link to go to that event. So if it is overlapping, and you can see here, like I'm not having, let me move down, if it is overlapping often, then there's probably some small style conflict between your theme and the events calendar that's doing this, and we need to figure out what that is. But again, they can always still click on the event, on the image or on the title in the pop-up to go to the event.
I want to learn how to change the font type, size, and color when someone clicks on an event in my calendar so that it looks like the rest of my website.
Ah, okay. Well, there are a couple of things in there, but the place you can start, let me get back to this, is in the customizer that I mentioned before. So this is the customizer, and if you don't know where that is, pull up the admin again real quick.
Are we talking about the WordPress customizer?
Yep. So
wow, that's
under Appearance, customize, right? Yeah, I know. Full Site Editor has made it disappear, but here's the thing: if you have any plugin or theme that still utilizes the customizer, it'll show up here in the menu.
Okay.
And the events calendar still has code for the customizer. So you want to match your theme. Well, right here. So if you're in the customizer, there's an events calendar section. And then if we go into global elements, right here under font family, you can tell it to inherit the theme fonts, and it will. Mine, it's not a big difference, but maybe you can see that like everything shifts as it changes. So that's inheriting the theme font. You can change the font size here. You can't tell it to match the font size of the theme. It's a little too complicated, but you can like tweak it up a pixel at a time, or you can just say, I want it bigger, or I want it smaller. So you can do something where it's like, well, that's about right, to match the rest of the theme. You can also change colors. You could change, like, this is the month view, and there's a ton of color change options for month view, but like just as a generic, you can change the title and the date and time and link colors. You can adjust the accent color, this blue, to match your theme. And if we go out of global elements, you can see the events bar is this top section, right? We talked about before. The month view, of course, is this particular calendar view. And there's also, actually right now, there's just one adjustment for single event that's pending the work we're doing on Full Site Editor. So there isn't a lot in there, but month view has a ton.
Yeah, as you go through the customizer and you click all these doodads and whatnot, and it looks like it's so funny because this is like the archaic way of doing things on WordPress these days. So I can't wait for the future when we embrace full site editing, and we could probably create, in the community, the events calendar community can create patterns like calendar, monthly view, day patterns, color schemes that would be very easy to apply to your site.
Yep. Yeah, once we have those site editor templates, yeah, it would be easy to apply different patterns, just tweak the templates. So.
What is the best practice if using Pro and the shortcode when you want to change the URL to /calendar, but that still leaves /events as an active URL?
Best practice. I honestly, off the cuff, I would probably be doing what you're doing, but I'd also say honestly, I don't know what the SEO implications of doing that are for what you're doing. So I mean, because you're asking best practice, that kind of affects it. So you've got to kind of figure on doing what you think is best for your SEO. But if you want to, I mean, that's me saying I would probably do that. What I would, and I would probably have calendar redirect to events. That leaves the events one active, instead of doing the other way around. Oh, well, you're using a short code. Um, so you're redirecting the events to the calendar URL. Yeah, that makes the most sense to me off the cuff. But I would think about SEO impact, because I'm sure that's important to you. So,
Which file contains the CSS for the TEC widget?
there are. Dun, dun, dun. You generally aren't going to edit directly the CSS files, but they would be in it would be for the events calendar. It would be the events calendar folder, and then SRC resources. So SRC stands for source resources, and then CSS. All of the files are there. There are a bunch of them, and you would be generally looking at the min files. So like all of the files are minified. So again, generally you wouldn't want to directly try to edit a minified CSS file. It gets messy really fast. But there are list widget files there. So in theory, you could take the unminified one, which is also present, and edit it and then minify that to replace your minified file. Or you can use the customizer. The other thing that customizer, that archaic beast, has is a section specifically for custom CSS. So you can put CSS overrides directly in there and they will override, and you won't have to edit any files. So.
What is your timeline for adding tickets to recurring events?
As soon as we can get it done.
It's on the radar.
Actually, literally working on it now. One of our, I'm peeved because they took the best dev on my team and put him on this. No, it's not me. But no, I'm not really peeved. But yeah, no, he's currently working on it, and as soon as we have it ready, we'll release it. So we had to do the changes that came along with series and the new recursion. Y'all have had to, if you're not new customers, you've had to deal with the migration from old sites. That work had to be done so that we could do tickets on recurring events. And now that that's done, that's immediately what we started working on, because we know everybody wants that. So.
It looks like we are supposed to use custom CSS. Do you have a webinar for those of us who want to use WordPress only with no custom CSS? We do have a webinar that like a customizations for beginners that we did that you can find on YouTube. The replay is there. Yeah.
That sounds almost more like a webinar for just setting up initially and that kind of thing, and maybe using settings. So yeah, something like that would probably be appropriate.
I'd love the arrow at the bottom of the monthly calendar as a default. I'm a beginner at web design, and all that you showed is kind of beyond me right now. I assume people might want this feature.
Can we add it's not user voice now. What is it that we use?
Oh, looped in.
Looped in. Can we add the link somewhere there?
Yeah.
If we use this, and if you suggest it and people want it, then it goes on the list of stuff for us to build. In the meantime, and I get it. Yeah, it would be nice as the default. We try to strike a balance between adding a huge ton of options and trying to keep the plugin from getting too heavy and too hard for people to figure out. there is a Swiss Army knife out there with 700 blades. It does not fit in your pocket. Like, so, we try to strike a balance.
And even
But
if it did fit in your pocket, it'd probably hurt.
yeah. So go to the Looped In site and see if it's there, and
I
if
just
it
put
is,
it in there.
yeah, and if it isn't there, please make the suggestion.
So I wonder, boy, I wonder with the whole full site editing thing, what the team is going to do, how many different parts of the calendar that they're going to create a toggle for, or to move things up and down. How how full is full site editing going to be before you have to resort to code?
Yeah, for those that are looking forward to full site editing, I will tell you it will be an iterative process with us.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, you will just get most likely you'll get the calendar, and you'll get control of everything around it, right? So that you can customize that page to make it match the rest of your site, or say, oh, on the calendar page, I want to split the content into 2 columns, like a sidebar, and have the calendar in one column and something else in the other column. But you won't be able to edit the calendar itself. Further down the road, that calendar will get broken into blocks so that you can move the pieces around, so that you'd be able to take that top bar and move it to the bottom or what have you. So
essentially, that's what a calendar is. About 27 in February, and then the rest of the year, 30 to 31 blocks.
Yep. Yep. Plus the blocks around it, navigation and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So.
What do the event links in the series page link to? I'm also using registrations for Events Calendar Pro. Are they creating those post links?
The event links in the series page link to? Well, a series is a collection of events. I'm assuming you mean the front end page where you'd see the series. It would list all the events and link to those.
I think so.
I don't know about registrations for Calendar Pro. I'm not sure what you're saying there. I'm sorry. But if you create a series, initially it has no events in it. You still have the if you're in the back end, you still have the links to edit the series. And one of the things that you can do when you edit the series is add events to it. But then if you if you look at the series on the front end, if there are links, there will be links to the events that are in the series. There will also be some other like navigational generic calendar, kind of links. But maybe I have the wrong one. Maybe I'm not understanding the question.
I'm unable to subscribe to single events in the full calendars page via Google Calendar. Is there a setting I'm missing?
I know nothing about you, but I will guess off the cuff that this is not a publicly available calendar. That would be the first thing I would check. You only mentioned Google Calendar, so maybe not. But but one of the things that I see a lot of, that I've helped support with a lot, is folks that have like sections of their site that are behind password protected stuff,
or paywalls are a big thing.
Paywalls, yep. And Google Calendar doesn't get through that wall or fence in the case of passwording, I guess, and so it can't get those events. The other thing I would do is if you Google Calendar makes a very soft guarantee that they will poll for events once every like 24 hours or something like that, but it doesn't always happen. So make sure you've given it a couple of days. I would wait 2 days, and if it's still not there, figure out, and the other thing to do is look at the URL, because especially for Google Calendar, everything about that event is in that URL. So there's a lot of variables at play with Google Calendar in particular. But if you're still having a problem, please reach out to our support team, and they will help you get it straight.
Let's try to get one more in, and then I will note down all of the rest of the questions that we didn't get to, and we can start the next webinar with them and come prepared with answers. Okay, so here's the last one. What's the ideal aspect ratio and dimensions for an event image? Should it match the general featured image dimensions on WordPress?
I don't know if we have set a specific. Well, I mean, you can look at any event on the front end, and
I was thinking about this question, and I think it should be taken care of by the theme, and just roll with what the theme does with images.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the theme actually has a lot to do with it, but I'm going to double check here and share my screen so you can see what I'm seeing. Otherwise, I feel like I may not be clear. So let's switch over here to my single event, my weird auto-generated single event, and here's our image. And it's kind of small. I see that, and so like the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, here's my image. It's inside a div. The div is full width for the it's the full page width, and this try event single, right? That's giving that width. That's fine. Now the image is not full width. It has a set 640 360, and I'm pretty sure that is is set in the template. So I'm going to go here to our templates, right? And I'm going to look at where am I? Single event, which is not in V2. Spot the image, event featured image, but exclude link. Okay, this uses full. So if we go to this function, sorry if I'm moving a little fast. I want to get to this before. This is going to grab the post thumbnail with a size, and that size is full. So it's trying to use the full size image based on what you have in the dashboard. So if we go back here to our dashboard, yeah, we can ignore that. And dashboard, ignore my dev site names, and go to media. We can find that image and see how big it is. I have a lot of images. Thank you, Unsplash, for crushing my. Here we go. So here, and you can see like this image that was showing up front. Here's the file.
Nope, wrong image.
Yeah, it's the wrong image, but they're all the same. They're all the same dimensions. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
they are all the same dimensions. So that because they're all generated, they're all pulled down automatically, so it pulls down the same dimensions. So it shows the image right here. These are the dimensions of the image, right? Period. It's 640 by 360. So if you're uploading a larger one, that's great. What I would do is upload a really large one, right? Let's go back here, upload a really large one and see how big your theme allows it to be, and then shoot for that, maybe twice that for Retina screens, right? Usually WordPress is pretty good about that kind of stuff, in that it will, if you look here in the code, and maybe it's a little hard to see. Let me close this. You'll see a lot of like 300W with a file name, 640W with a file name, and that's saying load this size at this screen size, load this size at this screen size. So WordPress usually takes care of a lot of that for you. WordPress does that automatically. It creates different sizes, thumbnails, right, of different sizes, images of different sizes, and then it loads based on the screen width and the device you're on to some degree. Yeah. But if you want to get more precise, you can always, like I said, go onto your site, see how big that space is, double it, and don't upload anything bigger than that, because it will never be bigger than you'll never need that. So
I will say before we wrap it up that we have an excellent knowledge base site that you can check out. We have a lot of great articles that explain how to use different functions, short codes, how to modify the events calendar, and it's being updated all the time. So if we didn't get to your question, please check out our knowledge base website and search for an article, and maybe the answer will be right there for you.
Yep. And
Yep. And tomorrow you will be receiving an email with the webinar replay, a bunch of resources from our knowledge base that can help you customize our plugins. And there will be a coupon code in there as well. So look out for that tomorrow afternoon. Thank you all.
thanks, everyone.
Bye.